What's up, everyone? It's Shaletta. I'm here getting a phone for one of my newly minted teenagers with Xfinity Mobile. They've got great options, affordable plans, and solid coverage that works for our whole family. With Xfinity Mobile, my daughter can stay connected with me wherever she goes. And did you know when you sign up, you can get an extra phone line free for a full year? Switch to Xfinity Mobile today for more savings, more smiles, and more ways to stay connected.
I'm Brandon Jones, host of the Teen Mental Health Podcast, It Is Not Your Fault.
And I'm Lambert Fisher, family therapist and host of the Diversity Dude podcast.
We're not always going to be all right, and that's what makes us human. Often, when we're in pain or even thinking of suicide, we may not want others to know, but you'll feel better if you talk to someone, and you can do that safely and anonymously.
We can recognize when loved ones are not okay. They bottle up, they isolate, they're angry.
That's why we want you to know about 988 Minnesota Lifeline for someone you're worried about or even yourself.
Anyone with an emotional or mental health related need can call, chat, or text 988 for free, confidential support. You can connect with 988 to discuss difficulty with money, relationships, anxiety, your job, concerns about drug or alcohol use, grief support, figuring out your identity, and more.
You don't even have to identify yourself or the person you're calling about, and no insurance is needed.
988 is available 24/7 year-round and can interpret in more than 200 languages.
So take a brave step. Call or text 988.
Or chat at 988lifeline.org. You don't have to do this alone.
Want your boss to put some real action behind the rhetoric when they talk about making your workplace more inclusive? Find out how to hold their feet to the fire and demand diversity on the Diversity Dude podcast.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Diversity Dude podcast. I'm your host, Lambert Fisher, marriage and family therapist, award-winning author, and national speaker on the topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. And for those of you who are interested in even more positive and encouraging tips and strategies beyond what I share in podcasts like this, then feel free to check out my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, nationally recognized for the unique way in which it addresses the often difficult topic of multicultural awareness and diversity. Designed for more than just therapists, if you're a helping professional in any way, Diversity in Clinical Practice can help you meet the greatest variety of cultural needs possible for those whom you serve. And it's available in paper and audiobook versions for your convenience. And if you haven't heard it yet, I invite you to visit TED.com and check out my talk called What to Do When You Offend Someone, where I offer a positive and practical perspective on how to navigate unintentional offenses in daily life. To date, it has been viewed over 500,000 times. Check it out for yourself. And if you're encouraged by it as well, then share with a friend. And whether it be through my one-on-one relationship building efforts as a therapist or my informing and empowering efforts as an author or speaker, know that my personal mission is to do my part to improve the world one strengthened relationship at a time. So, today I want to share with you a few encouraging words and perspectives on maintaining healthy relationships across differing abilities. For those of you who aren't aware, October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. The purpose of this designation is to celebrate the contributions of people who have disabilities and to raise awareness of their employment needs. As with any history, heritage, or awareness month, the goal is to make the most of the opportunity to take particular notice of needs that exist and deserve notice throughout every year. Statistics show that approximately 13.5% of the U.S. population, or roughly 42 million Americans, have some type of disability. The most common types of disabilities affect mobility, hearing, vision, and cognition. Because of this prevalence and my goal to help you increase the likelihood of positive and healthy interactions between you and anyone whom you encounter, no matter your similarities or cultural differences, whether that be racial or ethnic differences, gender, age, beliefs, or abilities, then I would like to use this time to share with you a few helpful tips and strategies regarding maintaining healthy relationships across differing abilities. Consideration number one, remember that there are visible as well as invisible disabilities. You see, people with disabilities include individuals with visible and invisible limitations in walking, sight, hearing, speaking, learning, thinking, concentrating, or working, which means it wouldn't be beneficial to only begin considering the impact of disabilities when you see someone in a wheelchair, for that isn't the only difficulty that could benefit from your support. Similarly, ensuring that a building is wheelchair accessible isn't the only kind of disability accommodation. One of the reasons this is worth mentioning is that people often feel a little too comfortable expressing negative or minimizing beliefs and perspectives about people with disabilities, thinking that their inconsiderate thoughts are safe because they don't see anyone near them with a visible disability, not knowing that they're speaking to someone with an outwardly invisible disability and thus unknowingly damaging the trust necessary to build or maintain healthy personal or professional relationships. Instead of living in fear of what you can or cannot see, and thus what you can or cannot say, consider cultivating a healthy perspective on people with disabilities that is considerate of anyone with any disability, valuing them as a person, empathizing with their experience, and offering whatever help you can reasonably provide. This way, even if you can't tell just from looking at someone, you can create an environment where everyone feels comfortable sharing their experiences with you and strengthening that mutually considerate relationship in the process. Which leads me to consideration number two. It's important to support accommodations whenever possible. Contrary to popular belief, accommodations are not special treatment intended to put others ahead of you. Instead, accommodations are efforts to balance the playing field and help those with disabilities remove unnecessary barriers and thus have a fair chance to show their full potential. Consider the invisible disability related to having difficulty concentrating beyond the experience that would be considered to be average. In an academic or even professional environment, if not recognized as a difficulty concentrating, it can be unfortunately reasonable to incorrectly conclude that difficulties on standardized tests, academic or professional, were indicative of a lack of intelligence or lack of effort. However, when it is discovered that the low test scores were influenced by internal and external distractibility during the test process, such that there wasn't even enough time to complete the entire test, and then accommodations in the form of, say, time and a half to take the test or a private room with reduced external distractions were given the next time around, it's no surprise that test scores often increase significantly. Now, some even go so far as to say, well, I would do better if I had extra time to take the test as well. Unfortunately, this misses the point. Your being able to complete the test in time without distraction isn't a sign of your greater intelligence. Similarly, the accommodation of extra time doesn't make anyone more intelligent. No, the knowledge is either known and understood or it's not. The accommodations, what that does is to reduce an unnecessary barrier so that what is known and understood and what someone can do can be accurately revealed for what it is. And then there's consideration number three. Make every intentional effort to see the person behind the differing abilities. Whether a person has a visible or invisible disability, I implore you to make every effort to see past someone's differing abilities for the person who they are beyond their abilities. Now, let me be clear. What I don't want you to do is to pretend that the disability doesn't exist or even go out of your way to pity someone for the impact their ability has on hindering their full potential. Why? Because people with disabilities often embrace their differing abilities in a way that to minimize their experience is to minimize them as a person. Someone once helped me understand this by recounting my saying that isn't universally great for someone to hear that they are colorblind because if that person's racial or ethnic background or identity is core to who they are, then to see them as to be something else that they're interacting with doesn't really mean to see them. If you don't see their race, their culture, or their color, then to see them and to be colorblind is to not see who they really are. The goal here isn't to see only color or never see color. Instead, it's to see whatever significance someone's racial or ethnic identity matters and to them or doesn't matter to them in their personal lives, and seeing and valuing them and their values for what they value it to be. In the same way, while being very considerate enough to not equate someone's racial or ethnic background with a disability, the point was made that no one has the right to determine the significance someone else's abilities has for them. They want you to see them as a person and the various aspects of who they are, including their different abilities. For many, what people may see as their disability, they consider to be a unique superpower that has provided unique life experiences that others may never have, perspectives that many have not gained, and abilities to have an impact on this world that they would not have had under different circumstances. No matter the circumstances, remember that everyone's identity is worth valuing, not just in your mind, but also in your words and in your actions. With all these considerations in mind and more, my hope for you is that you would take this month to be intentional about increasing your awareness of the visible and invisible disability experiences around you. In addition, whenever possible, support the creation of accommodations for those who have experienced barriers to opportunities you have unobstructed access to, not as a charity case or in pity of someone who doesn't deserve it, but out of consideration for someone who hasn't earned the right to not have the access to that which you automatically have access to. Put yourself in their shoes and treat them like you'd want to be treated. You never know. Life circumstances may change, and one day you might find yourself in those very shoes. It would be great if you would help create a better world for everyone before then, for yourself and for everyone else in the meantime. And with that, I'll say thanks again for listening to today's Diversity Do podcast. If you have any pressing diversity-related questions, or if you'd like me to address something on an upcoming podcast, or if your organization is in need of a positive, shame-free, and empowering guest speaker or training on this often sensitive topic, then feel free to reach out to me directly at www.diversitymadesimple.com. And if you know of anyone else who could benefit from a positive, encouraging perspective on this often difficult topic of diversity, feel free to send them a link to this podcast as well so that they can be encouraged also. Or share with them my award-winning book, Diversity in Clinical Practice, available at Amazon.com. And don't forget to share with them and visit TED.com and check out my talk on what to do when you offend someone. I hope it inspires you so that you can share it with someone so that they can be inspired as well. And as usual, I look forward to addressing as many topics as possible in future podcasts to help you improve as many relationships as possible at work, at home, and in your community. And as always, remember this: you don't need to know everything about everyone in order to have a positive impact on someone. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a great day.
Tune in each week and find out how to demand and implement diversity at your job. To hear more, check out previous Diversity Dude shows on ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Mark your calendar for October 17th. That's Open House Day at Summit Academy OIC, and that's where your next career begins. In just 20 weeks, Summit Academy can prepare you to be a medical administrative assistant, IT specialist, carpenter, electrician, or financial services professional. These are good paying jobs in high demand in the Twin Cities. Summit Academy will not only prepare you for a job with advancement opportunities, they'll help you connect with employers and hiring managers. That's right, Summit Academy has a list of local employer partners ready and eager to hire Summit graduates. At the open house, you'll meet Summit instructors and staff. These incredible people will guide you through the entire process, from application to graduation. And if you're looking to earn your GED, Summit can help with that. Come to Summit Academy's open house, located at 935 Olson Memorial Highway in North Minneapolis. Find out more at saoic.org. And we'll see you October 17th from 3 to 5 p.m.
Are you the parent or guardian of an adult with autism? If your loved one has no restrictions through court order, then they are eligible to vote. And you can assist them in many ways. Some citizens with autism don't like unfamiliar places and activities. These voters might prefer to cast their ballot at an early voting center. Leading up to Election Day, these early voting centers are less busy and less likely to require waiting. Early voting centers are open all over Minnesota, and you can vote there right now. Or you can request an absentee ballot to vote by mail. That's right, eligible voters can cast their ballots without ever leaving home. On Election Day, curbside voting is another option to make voting easy and comfortable. election judges will bring a ballot directly to the vehicle with a person with a disability. Make a plan to support and assist your loved one with autism this election season so they can participate and exercise their precious right to vote. You can find out more at mnvotes.gov. That's mnvotes.gov.
I'm Brandon Jones, host of the Teen Mental Health podcast, It Is Not Your Fault.
And I'm Lambers Fisher, family therapist and host of the Diversity Dude podcast.
We're not always going to be all right, and that's what makes us human. Often, when we're in pain or even thinking of suicide, we may not want others to know, but you'll feel better if you talk to someone, and you can do that safely and anonymously.
We can recognize when loved ones are not okay. They bottle up, they isolate, they're angry.
That's why we want you to know about 988 Minnesota Lifeline for someone you're worried about or even yourself.
Anyone with an emotional or mental health related need can call, chat, or text 988 for free, confidential support. You can connect with 988 to discuss difficulty with money, relationships, anxiety, your job, concerns about drug or alcohol use, grief support, figuring out your identity, and more.
You don't even have to identify yourself or the person you're calling about, and no insurance is needed.
988 is available 24/7 year-round and can interpret in more than 200 languages.
So take a brave step. Call or text 988.
Or chat at 988lifeline.org. You don't have to do this alone.
If you live in an older home, it may contain lead-based paint on walls, woodwork, and windows. Even more bad news, lead exposure can be dangerous to young children and impact their brain development. And now, the good news. Hennepin County will fix lead hazards in your home at no cost to you.
We were worried because of the paint in the windows in the bedroom. They were peeling and chipping, and we know that when paint peels and chips and it looks a certain way, that's possibly lead. We were worried for our children more so than anything.
Eligible homes can qualify for up to $15,000 in upgrades. You may even qualify for new energy-efficient windows. Don't worry, Hennepin County has a trusted list of pre-approved contractors. You won't even have to find companies with correct licenses or certifications.
I've just done a test and it's positive. So we know that this is lead-based paint, and then we know it's a hazard because it's creating dust every time this window moves and opens. And if you look in here, that's just full of lead paint chips.
You won't have to stay with your cousin while you're getting the lead out. Hennepin County even pays for you and your family to stay in a hotel while the work is underway. The last good news is how easy it is to apply. Just go to hennepin.us/lead control to get started.
I'm really happy with the program. We can go to bed knowing that our children are safe.
That's hennepin.us/lead control. Tell your friends about it.